Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the League Racing TV YouTube channel for round 8 of Season 2 of TTML Division 3. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Commenters. I'll once again be taking you through proceedings on a Thursday evening, and joining me in the commentary box, as always, is TTG Conti. Conti, how are you this evening?
Yeah, I'm doing really good. Looking forward to the Christmas holidays. Just one more week of working. But yeah, I'm doing really good. How about yourself, Aidan?
Doing really well actually myself as well. Looking forward to, like you say, looking forward to Christmas and getting the year out of the way. I would say getting rid of this year and starting afresh. I think we should just kind of delete this year from the record books, really, shouldn't we? But yeah, looking forward to that. But one thing we can't delete from the record books, well, we shouldn't delete from the record books, is this season. This season has been absolutely incredible so far. We're on to round 8. After this round, we only have 3 rounds left in this championship. It has absolutely flown by this season, and it has been a real up and down for a lot of drivers. But you've got to say, after the last few rounds, we've now got 3 set championship contenders, which in the face of Jan, Isotopic and B Morgan, the 4 of them separated by 14 points going into this round. Simply Superman and Steph maybe have an outside shot if they get a little bit of luck in these last few rounds, but you've got to say those top 3 really have been the class of the field so far.
Yeah, they have been. It's been really close from first place to around 10th for the last couple of races, from the beginning from the season, I should say. But yeah, Jen, Isotopic and Morgan really are the 3 favorites now, and only 15 points between Jen and B Morgan, and Isotopic is in between. So yeah, really close, and I expect these guys to be fighting it out in the last couple of races now.
Yeah, and those 3 really have had completely different seasons. We've had Jan and B Morgan, I believe, attending all of the rounds. Isotopic has missed 1 round, I believe, this season, but Jan has kind of been the one where he's been incredibly consistent, maybe not been the fastest, but has picked up points at almost every round this season and has the most podiums of any driver on the grid at the moment. B Morgan, you've got to say, has probably been the outright fastest so far this season, but has made a few mistakes in the past few rounds, especially last time out at Belgium. He had a great opportunity of picking up a podium, but just an audacious move on brake FN towards the end of the race cost him the opportunity to close in that points gap.
Yeah, he was a couple of rounds ago. He was my favorite for the title, but yeah, maybe it got to him a little bit, and cracks starting to form, and just little mistakes, like you said, with brake FN last race, and the race before he had something as well, and little bit unlucky as well on Britain, I believe. So yeah, it's a mixture of bad luck and just losing his patience, because in my opinion he still is the fastest, and when he is driving with his head on place, it shouldn't be a problem for him.
Yeah, definitely shouldn't. We come to a track around Singapore. Obviously, well, I know what your feelings are on this track, but for everyone watching at home, I personally absolutely adore this track. I think this track is absolutely brilliant to watch. I think it is such a fun thing. As I think one of the Renaults has ended up blocked in the pit lane. That is something. That is something I have never seen before. And B Morgan's actually left the session, so I think he'll join back. But I think B Morgan had to leave the session because his car ended up blocking the pit lane. So that is something I've never seen before. That's a new one to add to the roster of many things that have happened on this game. B Morgan should join back in the lobby fairly quickly, but yeah, that is something I've never seen before. But yeah, like I was saying, I really enjoy this track. I think this track is great. You, on the other hand, Conti, not so much of a fan.
No, and that's an understatement. I just really hate this track. It's slippery. Your ERS doesn't. You can't save any ERS. Yeah, it really doesn't suit me. I touched the wall like 10 times in a race, so in the end I have to finish probably in a dry race on my intermediates. No, I really hate it.
Yeah, like you say, there are a lot of things at this track that you have to really keep an eye out for. Obviously, we have a different kind of track model really on this game now, where street circuits do tend to be a lot slippier than the fully fledged proper circuits that we see. So Singapore is one of those that really suffers from that. There is a lot. Well, I say a lot. There's barely any grip around this track, absolutely none, and it is really easy to slide the car. And one thing to note as well, because we have so many corners at this track, I believe 23 corners in total. This track is a killer on that front right tyre. It really does start to overheat, and that could be a problem in the race as well if you can't manage your tyres properly.
Yeah, it definitely can. I mean, wouldn't be the first to get a puncture around this track. It's horrible on your right front tire on your back tires because it's a slippery track and really oversteery. So yeah, you really have to be careful with your tires and preferably start on the mediums. But already a lot of guys went out on their softs, so probably they're gonna go for track position and try to set a fast lap on the softs.
Yeah, a lot of people, the only few people that have gone for mediums so far. BreakerFan still in the pit lane, but Tekken and Charlie are out on the track on mediums. Rumble with Nolan in the Red Bull, though. He's going to be the first person we're going to watch a full lap with. He's come down Raffles Boulevard into the second sector already. Harry Noag is on a lap in front of him, but I think he may have made a mistake at turn 4. So we're going to keep riding with Nolan, who has shown a lot of speed in recent rounds. Was fighting for the win, obviously, in Britain a couple rounds ago, but unfortunately lost out due to penalties late on in the race. Got a yellow flag in sector 1. That's Alpha, one of the Alfa Romeos has gone off the road. I don't know. I think that's actually just BreakerFan coming out the pit lane and moving out of everyone's way. But Nolan now coming through down to the hairpin and then on the opposite side of the Anderson Bridge now. Obviously changed from a few years ago, a little bit updated, that chicane just before this straight, and this is the second of 3 DRS zones at this track. There are 3 DRS zones at a track with barely any straights on it. That is one crazy thing to believe. Now into the final sector of this lap, the most technical part of this lap. It's a lot of 90 lefts and 90 rights that come at you very quickly. We go underneath the grandstand here. Don't take too much curb on the inside. It can bounce you to the outside of the track, and Nolan stays far away from the curb. You're going to see a lot of people improving as the session goes on. People wanting to get in a banker in the first lap round, and Nolan sliding all over the road coming out of turn 21 and now into 22 and then 23, which is just a kink to line. Harry Noir does a 36.7. That's immediately beaten by Nolan, who does a 34.9, which is nearly 2 seconds quicker. Damon, on his return to the series, goes back straight bang in the middle of those with a 35.5 and a 34.3 for Isotopic, puts himself on provisional pole. We've now got Steph coming around the final corner to start his next run in qualifying, and then we've got Langfeld coming up to line in the second racing point. What can he do? He's coming around the final corner now. It looks like it's going to be in the 35s. It is a 35.4, just a tenth of a second ahead of Damon. And across the line in the background goes Lighty just to start a lap. Old School goes onto the provisional front row now with a 34.5, 2 tenths of a second off Isotopic. Good opening lap from Isotopic, but as I said, at this track you really need to get a banker lap in, and then you can improve from there.
Yeah, you can. And is it me, or is it starting to drizzle a bit?
Oh, it is, yeah. Wow, you've got a better eye than me. Blimey, I need to get some glasses. But my word, it is raining. Wow, that's crazy. So there's some people still in the pit lane. See, Kiki's simply Superman, 4th in the championship. Kiki, well, who's been at the front of the field pretty much all season long, and B. Morgan, who I don't know if has joined back in the session yet or not. But they are going to get massively caught out by this. I think we had the same situation last time out. B. Morgan's just rejoined. That's going to massively cost him, with the fact that Isotopic, second place in the championship, is on the front row. And Jan's currently on an outlap. He is on track. But we had this last time out of Belgium as well, where it started to rain at the midpoint of the session. And that caught Jan out. Jan ended up qualifying last on the grid. Came through to a podium. But it could look like this week it might be B. Morgan being the one caught out by it. And a track like Singapore, track position is vital around here.
Yeah, it is, because it's really hard to overtake, and yeah, just a couple of guys napping again. We saw it last week, which is said in Belgium, where a couple of guys went out on the mediums at first just to check out the track. But when it is gonna rain in a session, you just have to get out, get a good lap in, and hope it's gonna rain after that, and don't take the risk of fiddling around and doing 2 fast laps after that.
Yeah, Lighty was one who was on another fast lap, but he's dived into the pit lane, so he's not going to complete that time, which just, to me, seems a bit of a waste. Even if he was going to run out of fuel on the in-lap, his lap time would have been much faster than what he would have done on this next lap coming out of the pit lane. So, Lighty into the pit lane. The only one on the track on a lap at the moment, apart from Hero Joking, who I believe has just started a lap, is BreakerFan. And BreakerFan's gone out on the medium tyres. If he can get into the top 10 on the medium tyres while everyone else struggles with the conditions, that could be great for him. And he goes P8 on a 36.2, just behind Steph last week's winner. Only 7th on the grid this time round. Steph has taken, I think, 3 pole positions so far this season, has really come on song in the second half, and is now up to 5th in the standings, having run outside of the top 10 in the standings for the majority of the first half of the season. But he may be one of those drivers caught out by the rain. Only P7 on the grid and 1.4 seconds off pole position.
Yeah, which really for a first lap, it isn't bad. 34.3. So and with the track starting to get wetter now, it's going to be really tough to beat Isotopic this time, and it can be a good position to start this race and get in maybe a place higher up in the championship after today.
Yeah, that could really help him out. Meanwhile, Jan is on a lap meanwhile in the Mercedes, as is Hero Jokin, who's just coming through the final sector now. So we'll ride with Hero Jokin. One of the Haas cars is out on the track. That is Steph, who's gone for another run on the same set of tyres. He crosses the line and doesn't improve. So I don't know why Steph's going for more laps on the same set of tyres, because that's only going to ruin his strategy at the start of this race, unless it is raining at the start of this one. But then why would BrakeFN go for the medium tyres if that was the case? Hero Jokin crosses the line, only a 36.7, and already you can see people start to struggle with the conditions out on track. Charlie crosses the line to start his first run in qualifying on the soft tyres. Now, where does Jan go? He was massively caught out by this, but that was at a track like Belgium where you can overtake. Singapore, it's completely different, and Jan comes up to the line, and it's only 13th on the grid for our championship leader. People are already retiring from the session. They know that there's not going to be a lot more pace in this track, and Jan, yet again, is going to get caught out by the conditions. Charlie and Simply Superman are now on laps, but Simply Superman is on the mediums, much like his Alfa Romeo teammate, so we'll see where he can go. But this has played beautifully into Isotopic's hands.
Yeah, it did, and a good performance from Old School as well on a P2 now, because he has had a bad run for a couple of races as well. So these guys being sharp and checking the weather, really giving them an advantage in the race.
It really has, yeah. Simply Superman goes P9 just behind his Alfa Romeo teammate on a 36.5. So both Alfa Romeos on the medium tyres in the top 10. And that could be a really inspired decision if they could hold that to the end of the session. We'll have to wait and see. I imagine a lot of people are going to struggle to get any faster. And Charlie just proving that, coming into the third sector, nearly spinning the car on traction right into the wall on the right-hand side of the track. Just about holds onto it. He had a good middle sector to the lap, but it wasn't much faster than Simply Superman. So with that mistake coming into the third sector, he might struggle to get inside the top 10 if this final sector is getting wetter and wetter, as we do suspect. He comes through the penultimate two corners and now into the final corner of the lap, 22 and 23. Just riding on board, you can see he's very cautious, comes up to the line, and it's only 14th. He lost a lot of time in that final sector in the end. B Morgan is now on a lap, but already I think nearly half a second down. Oh, and he's spun the car and put it in the wall. So B Morgan, if Lighty can set a lap time, which he's on at the moment, B Morgan is guaranteed last on the grid.
Yeah, well, yes, but it doesn't have to be the end of his race. I mean, we saw last week with Jen, he still finished on the podium, so you just have to get your head down in the race and pick the right strategy and keep your head cool.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Other people are out on laps at the moment. Nolan's just dived into the pit lane off of his lap. He was 1.5 seconds down on his personal best, so he found absolutely no time. Kiki coming around the final corner to start his first lap in the session, so still people leaving it far too late to go out onto the track and set a time, especially with these wet weather conditions. Lighty will be one of the next drivers to do a lap as someone spun the car. I didn't quite see who that was, but Lighty's coming round to the final few corners now, and again just a massive snap of oversteer mid-corner. Comes round the final two corners. He's already well off the pace, crosses the line, and it's only 17th on the grid for Lighty, a 38.6. What a shame from him. Podium sitter so far this season in the top 10 in the standings, 18th on the grid, and we've got a lot of drivers at the back of the field who you would regularly see at the front, and that means that we've got a lot of people at the front of the field that we don't necessarily see. Isotopic at the front of the field, which is not really a shock, and neither for Old School as well, but Steve up there with his best qualifying of the season, Nolan, Langfell and Damon all having good qualifyings.
Yeah, it's kind of an of the F2 sprint race. I mean, kind of an inverted strategy, inverted. Help me out there, inverted
grid. Yeah.
Yes, inverted grid. Thank you. Wow.
We got there in the end. Yeah, we'll just ride around and see who else is on laps. As you would expect, probably a lot of people are going to be retiring here. Flores is on a lap, currently 13th on the grid in the McLaren, but still not finding any time whatsoever. He's completely backed off. Kiki is the only one on a fully fledged lap, and he's invalidated. So he's currently down in 18th on the grid, not finding any time, and not setting a valid time even. You can see just the car snapping every time he puts the power down. It's nearly into intermediate conditions already, and Kiki really struggling to keep that car on the road, and that just goes to show that that's the price you pay for not paying attention to the weather. It can bite you. It bit a lot of drivers last time out, and it's happened again at a track where it's even more difficult to overtake. I think it was unlucky for B Morgan that he had that problem in the pit lane, but even so, he still waited by the time he got back in the pit lane to go out on the track. So B Morgan and Kiki, what a back. You would expect that maybe on the front row of the grid, but B Morgan and Kiki And Lighty, the final three at the back of the grid, top three drivers you would probably expect to be in the top three on the grid.
Yeah, yeah, it should. I mean, this could be a P1, P2, P3 after quali. These three guys. Not to take anything away from Isotopic and Old School, but yeah, this shows really bad luck for B Morgan, and I think it's quali over for everyone. I think everybody's gonna. There's no time to find, so I think everybody who hasn't done it is gonna be retiring from the session now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. We're seeing no one is out on the track at the moment, so we've got a little bit of time to just have a little chat, basically, about this track and about what the race is coming up and the races we've got for the rest of the season and the championship battle. Obviously, the championship battle coming into this round, like we said, 14 points in the standings. For you, who do you think is going to be the one to beat for the rest of this season?
Cool. Yeah, I still think it's gonna be B Morgan. I mean, the guy showed he's quick. He made a couple of mistakes last couple of races, but I still think he is the quickest and the better driver. So I think he's the one to look out for, and he's the one to beat. Even though Jen and Isotopic are leading now over him.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I think, yeah, he definitely has the pace to pull it off. I think I'm going to have to keep my eye on Isotopic, though, considering that he's in second place in the championship, having missed a round earlier on this season. I think every time well, I suppose maybe around race 3 or 4 this season, we kind of ruled Isotopic out of the equation because he had a bit of a lull in the very early part of the season where he was kind of finishing around 7th or 8th. But in the end, him getting those results actually paid dividends for him, much like it paid dividends for Jan at the start of the season, because while they were scoring at the lower end of maybe the top 10, B Morgan later on in the season wasn't scoring points at all.
Yeah, true, true. And yeah, I think I said it before. Isotopic is kind of a. I mean, last couple of rounds he performed really well, and even in quali, what wasn't his strongest suit in the start of the season, but he was kind of a ninja. He started from the back. Don't know how he stayed under the radar the whole race, and at the end of the race, we said to each other, "Hey, where did Isotopic come from?" And he finished just outside of the podium or on the podium. So yeah, he is doing really, really well, and I don't know why, but yeah, he's some kind of the underdog or the black horse. It's just how you wanna how you wanna call it. You don't pay attention to him until the end of the season, and he's there.
Yeah, I fully have to agree with you on that one. He really has been the dark horse this season. He goes completely under the radar. I think Britain is probably the best example of that. Got damage before he even got to turn 1 and ended up at the back of the field for the whole race and ended up finishing, what was that in that race? Did he end up finishing, he ended up finishing second in that race if I remember correctly. I'll have to double check that one. But he came from the back and from nowhere ended up on the podium, and he kind of did the same thing last time out where he was running a little bit on his own, not as fast as the likes of B Morgan and Steph in front of him, but was doing just enough to hang on to them and got rewarded with another podium finish. So he's done a very good job this season. We've got 2 minutes left in qualifying, and the only person still technically in the qualifying session is simply Superman. He's the only one that hasn't retired as of yet, so wait and see if he retires, because if he does, then we'll finish qualifying early, which is something I haven't had in, well, I haven't had in a league race in a long time, which is bizarre to think about, but that is the nature of this of the weather conditions that we have. It is now officially, I would say, intermediate conditions, so no one is going to be able to improve on their time, and obviously everyone out of the session means that no one would be able to improve anyway. They haven't got the opportunity to do so. So before we get to the end of the session, we'll have a double check as well at what the calendar's looking like for the rest of the season. Obviously, we are in Singapore today, but after Singapore, we go to Japan, then Mexico, then Abu Dhabi, which is a real mix of great tracks that we go to, isn't it? And Japan in particular stands out to me as a proper driver's circuit.
Yeah, it is. It's a really technical circuit with yeah, just no runoff. So one mistake and you can end up in the barrier, or spin your car in the gravel or in the grass. So yeah, that really is a great track. And yeah, Mexico, completely different track. Completely different track, but I really loved the second sector of it with all the corners there, and then the final Abu Dhabi in the dark. Yeah, great few races after this.
Yeah, definitely is going to be an interesting end to the season with a lot of different tracks that may suit a lot of different drivers. But Simply Superman has retired from the session, so that is qualifying over, guys. It was a bit of a truncated, a bit of an anticlimax of a qualifying session, but Isotopic picks up pole position from Old School on the front row. Steve with his best qualifying of the season in third place ahead of Nolan, and Langfell, his best qualifying as well. Damon's best qualifying in sixth ahead of Steph, who won last time out. Break FN and Simply Superman in the top 10 on the medium tyres, so look out for them at the start. And Kelvin with his best start in 10th place. Harry Noir, Hero Joking, Flores, Charlie, Jan, Tekken, Lighty, B. Morgan, Kiki at the back of the field. So a lot of fast drivers that we're going to have to look out for at the back of the field in this race. But if Isotopic can get off to a good start, and if it's a fairly clean race from then on in, Isotopic has a brilliant opportunity of just disappearing off into the distance.
Yeah, he has, especially, yeah, it's just really hard to overtake here, and you never know what's going to happen in the race with safety cars or virtual safety cars, and it messes up your strategy. But if he keeps his head cool, can get away clean, and people behind him start to battle, yeah. I mean, around this track, he can keep his tires in check because guys behind him are battling, and you won't see him again.
Yeah, you'll have to wait and see what he can do. And traditionally, in terms of Isotopic, he's always been better in race pace than he has in quali trim. So for him to put it on pole is a bit of a marker for everyone else in this race, if he can hold on to that kind of speed in this one. Old School as well. Old School's had a great start to the season, didn't he? He's been really good in qualifying all season long, but unfortunately for him, whether it's bad luck or involved in incidents on his own or with other people, he's just not had the luck this season. Currently running 10th in the standings, and you have to say that 10th in the standings is not really a reflection of Old School's pace.
No, it isn't. If you put together the second half of last season and the first half of this season, that's a good reflection of what he can do. He finished great and he started this season great. I believe a couple of pole positions as well. His quali pace was out of this world at the beginning of the season. But yeah, just some bad luck and yeah, not finishing where he should be finishing this season. So yeah, P10, he should be higher up. He should be able to compete with the top guys in this league, in this division.
And while we say he is 10th in the standings, he is only about 30 or so points off of 4th in the standings, so it's not out of the question that he could jump right back up to the front of this championship standings, even with a good result today. We'll have to wait and see. Just having a look as well at tyre strategies for everyone outside the top 10. Obviously, we know what the top 10 drivers are starting on, but look out for those Alfa Romeos at the start of this race. But we have a real mix of tyre strategies outside the top 10. Harry Noag, Hero Joking, Flores, and Charlie are all on the medium tyres, as you would expect. Jan has gone for the soft, so Jan usually plays the safe game. He has gone very aggressive for the start of this race with a set of soft compound tyres, looking to make places early on. Tekken on a set of hard compound tyres, Lighty and Kiki on medium tyres, and then B Morgan 19th on the grid with absolutely nothing to lose in this race as it stands, going for the hard compound tyres, which absolutely makes sense for B Morgan at the back of the field. He's not going to lose any places by doing this strategy, so he may as well go for something completely different.
Yeah, true. But I kind of get what Jan is trying as well. I mean, maybe he's gambling for an early safety car, and the softs only, yeah, what is it, 7-8 laps and they're done.
Yeah.
7-8 laps at most. So, yeah, maybe he's gambling for that and hoping for a safety car. But one question before we start the race, and this is going to be a really difficult one today. What's going to be your top 3?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one. You put me on the spot there, so you reversed it on me. But I think I'm going to have to go for Isotopic for the win today. I think qualifying was a good omen for him. I think second place, I'm going to go for... Oh my word, I'm going to go for Simply Superman in second place. He's done very well on alternate strategies so far this season. And I'm going to put Steph in third place in this race. I think he's shown great pace. I don't think qualifying was fully reflective of what he can do because of the rain. So we'll wait and see how this one pans out. It's going to be an incredibly interesting race. A lot of people out of position on the grid. This could be an absolute cracker, as has every race so far this season. Here we go then. The 5 lights are coming on ahead of the drivers. Who's going to get the best start? lights are out, and away they go. It's a short run down to turn 1, and it's a fairly even start at the front of the field. No one seems to have made that much of an amazing impression at the start, apart from Langfell trying to go for the move on Nolan, but wasn't quite far enough alongside to get it done. The two Haskars are side by side coming through turns 2 and 3. There was a little bit of contact there, I think, between Steve and Nolan. Steve got a little bit squirrely. Nolan had to back out of it, and Langfell's trying to capitalise. Steph has passed his teammate. Oh, and there was contact back there. That's Jan. Jan's been spun around on the inside of turn 4, and there's more contact. Kiki has spun the car as well on the exit of turn 4. I didn't quite see who caused that, but Jan was spun on the inside of turn 4. I think they were 3 wide going into the corner. Jan was down the inside, and there was no room for it. Lighty coming into contact a little bit with Hero Jokin at turn 7. There's a lot of carnage going on towards the back of the field. At the front of the field, though, smooth sailing so far for Isotopic and Old School, running 1-2. Steve still runs in 3rd place out of Nolan, who still runs 4th. Langfell, the top 5 has stayed the same. It's Steph that's made the move at the start, past his teammate. Simply Superman has passed his teammate up into 8th place, so he's now the lead person on the medium tyres. Kelvin's dropped to 11th. Harry Nawag has worked his way inside the top 10 on those medium tyres, and always a bit of contact further in front. I don't know if that was simply Superman trying to avoid the back of the Haskar there, coming out of the hairpin. He was a little bit squirrely on the brakes, just able to hold it, but at the back of the field it was chaos. At the front of the field, perfect getaway for Isotopic.
Yeah, this really is what Isotopic wanted. He almost has a second over Old School, so oh well, probably this is a timing limit, because I don't believe this is the second from what I'm seeing. But at the back, I don't really know what happened. B. Morgan has wing damage, he has to pit, and that's really devastating because he started on the hards. Jen got spun around, Kiki was in trouble, so, and a yellow flag.
Oh, that's Break FN. Break FN spun the car coming out of turn 21, and he's broken his front wing as well, so carnage on the first lap going on, and every which way it's absolute mayhem at the front of the everywhere we look in the field at the moment. B. Morgan didn't pick up that damage at turn 4. He was clean at turn 4 all the way to turn 7. So something has happened to B. Morgan in the middle part of the lap. Maybe he spun his car on his own, or whether there was contact in front, but he wasn't involved in that incident with Jan. So that's bizarre to see B. Morgan with front wing damage. It's another mistake. He's onto the medium tyres, but his race massively affected. Look how far behind the field these guys are going to be after their pit stops are complete. They are already a sector behind the rest of the field. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Isotopic and Old School have utterly disappeared at the front of the field. They've dropped Steve already. It says 1.1 seconds on my end, but that is clearly a lot bigger than 1.1 seconds. Nolan as well is really struggling, and at the moment it seems to be Nolan who's the cork in the bottle.
Yes, he's starting to hold up Langfell, Steph and Damon, and I hope Steve can pig on to Old School. What happened?
That was Steph made a little bit of a mistake there coming out of the hairpin. He's going to let his teammate down the inside. Is Damon going to go for the move? He is on the brakes. Steph tries to run around the outside. There wasn't a lot of room there. Damon kind of hit the curb on the inside. Steph had to get out of it. Simply Superman wasn't close enough to get the move done on Steph either. Steph loses out to Damon. Damon's back up into 6th place, but that was all caused by Steph having a bit of a moment coming onto the Anderson bridge. Damon back up into 6th, and now can he challenge Langfell for 5th place in this race? Meanwhile, the medium runners at the back of the field, it's simply Superman still leading the way, but Harry Nawag is loving these medium tyres. He's caught up to these guys quickly, and we're on the end of lap 2, and Nolan's already into the pit lane. His softs are already done.
Ooh, that is fairly quickly, and it doesn't
There's a front wing change.
Wing damage, yeah. I mean, this track is devastating on your tyres, but 2 laps, he should really be in trouble, because he had to pit again after and he's getting held up after his hard tires thin as well. So that was only a wing change.
Yeah, meanwhile, simply Superman trying to get a run at Steph, who also seems to be struggling a little bit on these soft compound tyres. Damon has caught the back of Langfell quite quickly, so he's trying to get the move done for P4 in this race. And like I said, the top 2 have gone. Steve at the moment running in 3rd, doing a good job as... Oh, Damon's gone! Damon spun the car completely on his own, coming out of turn 8. We just got cut off board of him, coming out of that corner, and he's completely lost his front wing. So from a great top 5 place, he's spun himself out of contention, and the debris on the track has caused a virtual safety car. So that will save Damon a little bit of time in this point in the race, but my word, a great position, 5th place at the moment on his comeback, spins the car on his own.
Yeah, devastating. I just switched to him, so I didn't see how he spun his car, but yeah, he's lucky there's a virtual safety car, because it doesn't cost him too much time to get into the pits. But even though, look at the difference between Nolan and Break FM, and they both had to pit. It's still 13 seconds.
My word,
A
that is
pit stop in lap 1 and a pit stop in lap 2.
That is a crazy amount of time. Obviously, BreakFM did have a spin as well, but you wouldn't say that BreakFM would have lost 12 seconds with that spin. Kelvin, the first person with a 3-second time penalty in this race as well, as I think Damon nearly understood into the wall with absolutely no front wing at all, so he's just trying to work his way back to the pit lane. I remember, obviously, everyone does score points. Everyone that finishes this race will score points, so Damon's just got to get this car back into the pit lane and get back out on the track. Basically, nearly misses the pit lane because of how much understeer he had in the car there, but he is in and picks up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane as well. Meanwhile, back at the front of the field, Isotopic continues to lead this race. Old School continues to run in second, and they are now 3.5 seconds clear of Steve, who must think he's in a time trial session. He's completely on his own. Everyone in front of, well, the two drivers in front of him have disappeared, and everyone behind him keeps falling by the wayside as Hero Jokin is going for a move around the outside of Flores, but is completely off the track there at turn 7. Far too late on the brakes. He might have to give that place up. It might not be an illegal overtake, but even so, Flores probably won't be too pleased with the fact that Hero Jokin completed that move completely off the track. Meanwhile, all the carnage going around has massively helped some of our medium runners, Simply Superman especially, and Harry Noir. Both of those guys continue to work their way through the field on those medium tyres. They're now running 6th and 7th place just behind Stefan Langfell, and Langfell is now the cork in the bottle. But all the carnage happening in the midpoint of the field has just gifted Isotopic and Old School such an amazing opportunity in this race.
Yeah, it did. I mean, they're just disappearing, and Steve is just doing a decent thing. I mean, he isn't losing time on Langfell. Langfell's holding up, almost half the field. He really is off pace around Singapore. So Steve just has to do his own thing, keep his head down, don't make any mistakes, and he should be good for maybe a podium finish. But he already goes in to change his tires.
Yeah, we've got a lot of people.
Quite early.
There's a lot of people in at the end of lap 4 then, so these soft tyres clearly have no pace left of them whatsoever. Our two leaders are into the pit lane. Old School and Isotopic are both in. Steph is into the pit lane as well, along with Kelvin, and I believe we've seen another driver into the pit lane as well. Yeah, Steve has also come in at the same time, so our top 3 drivers all into the pit lane. Langfell has stayed out on the track. He's the only soft runner other than Jan that has stayed out in this race, and Jan's recovered quite well so far after that first lap spin. Langfell, though, trying to defend from Simply Superman, who now has the inside line for turn 7. That should be a done deal for the Alfa Romeo driver. Simply Superman now leads this race, and the last time we saw Simply Superman leading a race on the alternate strategy, a safety car came out and Simply Superman had a great opportunity for a race win. Can Harry Noir follow him through? We'll have to wait and see. You would say that Harry Noir's probably had the pace over Simply Superman at the start of this race. He got a yellow flag in sector 3. I think that was for Damon. Again. Yeah, Damon spinning again.
Spinning into the pit lane.
My word, he's had a bit of a disastrous end to this race, and he has left the session. I think probably in frustration, unfortunately. But what a shame for Damon's race that kind of fell apart. But look at the gap now from Simply Superman to Langfell. Simply Superman passed him at turn 7, and by the time they get to the end of the sector, Simply Superman's already 1.3 seconds ahead.
Yeah, and this actually is helping out. Like Isotopic and Old School. I mean, Langfeld is still holding up Harry Noir, Hero Jokin. So this is really good for the guys who pitted early. But what I don't understand is why Isotopic and Steve went for the medium tires, because no way they can keep those tires in check until the end of the race, so they have to pit again.
Yeah, they're going for a much more aggressive strategy. Like you say, Old School has gone for the hard compound tyres, so he's trying to get to the end of the race, and those hard compound tyres are fairly consistent around this track. So Isotopic is going to have some pace on these tyres to pull a gap, and then pit, and then close back in on Old School in the second half of this race. And Steve's going to try and do the same thing, as is Steph as well. So they're all going for that same two-stop strategy in this race. Langfell is into the pit lane, and he's done his teammate quite a good job in the opening stint of that race by holding a lot of people back, but when he comes out of the pit lane, he's already behind Steph. Look at that, and he's actually going to get caught by Nolan, who had a front wing change and is on the hard compound tyres. So that's how much time Langfell's lost just by staying out an extra couple laps on those tyres. Nolan's already recaught him, and Kelvin's nearly recaught him as well, and Kelvin was at least 6 or 7 places behind Langfell on the road. So my word, he's lost a lot of time. But we're now into that phase of the race where all those people on the alternate strategy are going to be staying out for at least probably 6 or 7 laps, especially those on the mediums, those on the hards, probably at least another 10 or maybe even 15 laps if they want to go to the softs at the end. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2, and that's Harry Noir from second place. He had great pace at the start of this one on those medium tyres. He spun onto the first part of the Anderson Bridge, and yet again, another person with a great opportunity and a great place in this race has spun all on their own.
Yeah, and you really have to be careful because there's a curb there. I was just talking about that when I was doing some laps earlier today.
Oh, it's
If
Isotopic.
you
Sorry to
pack,
jump in there. Sorry to jump in. Isotopic round the outside of Tekken. What a move from Isotopic. Clean around the outside of the AlphaTauri man. He is on older hard compound tyres. But Isotopic putting himself at risk there of damage from the side of Tekken's car. But my word, what a move from Isotopic. And he is flying. He's already gained at least a couple seconds on this lap alone to Old School. So at the moment at least, these medium tyres working beautifully for Isotopic.
they are, and Old School now stuck behind Tekken. So let's see how long it takes him to overtake him. But Isotopic is really on pace today, showing great pace overall in this race. I mean, I think if he doesn't make any mistakes, he's going to be the winner. And yeah, it's really early in the race, everything can happen, but he's just showing such good pace that I really think it's possible.
Yeah, I'm going to touch wood on that one. We don't want to jinx it, and we've jinxed a lot of people so far this season. But like you say, Isotopic has a great opportunity here with Jan currently running in 6th, still out on the soft compound tyres, bear in mind. So Jan, we know, was traditionally good on his tyres, but he stayed out quite a long time, and he's now losing pace to Flores in front. So you would imagine Jan will be in fairly soon. And B. Morgan with damage and a terrible qualifying at the back of the field in 15th place, really struggling to make any impression on the drivers in front, and you would imagine he's not going to get much further than that, especially running on the medium tyres. He will have to pit again in this race to get to the end of the race, so they're completely out of contention at the moment, and Isotopic has a great advantage. He has what is basically over a 6-second lead on Old School already, and Old School's burnt out his ERS almost completely at this point, and Steve is rapidly closing in on Old School as well. So while Old School may be able to get to the end of the race on these hard compound tyres, he's got no pace at all on these tyres.
Yeah, but in the end, the tires will come to him, and Steve and Isotopic really have to pit again. So yeah, if I was him, I wouldn't battle with Steve too hard, and if he really is on pace, I should let him by and try to stay behind him within DRS range and profit off it, because in the end the tires will come to him, and the medium runners, the tires are going to be shot, and a mistake is made, or they definitely have to pit again. So.
Yeah, Isotopic meanwhile has already caught Jan. Jan's now 3.5 seconds off the back of Flores. Jan's tyres are completely dead, so I'm surprised that he's still out on them, and he is defending from Isotopic, as you would imagine, these top two in the standings, and Jan's got a fast car in a straight line. Isotopic could barely get the move done, but he goes completely off the track at 7, just like we saw Hero Joking do. When he gets the move done, he's up into 6th place. That's another car between himself and Old School, but he got a little bit held up in the first part of the lap. He is working his way through the field quite nicely at this point in the race. Old School now ahead of Tekken, and Tekken now ahead of Steve, so Steve's going to try and get that move done. Meanwhile, while Steve is closing in on Old School, and Old School struggling a little bit at the start of this stint on these hard tyres, Steph in 11th place is absolutely flying now that he's in free air, and has almost nearly caught Steve already, so Steph's now putting himself into contention for a podium here.
Yeah, he really got held up by Langfeld, but yeah, we saw before, Steph is a really quick driver. His quality is on par, and his race pace is good as well. So, as Steve...
Yeah, he's going to get the move done. Oh my word, that was close to contact there with Tekken coming around the corner, but he gives Tekken just enough room. Fair fight between the two of them. Steve is up into 9th place. He gets the move done, but Steve and Old School in a very similar situation here, where they both burnt through a lot of their ERS. And like you said at the start of this race, it's so easy to do so. One person that hasn't burnt through their ERS is Steph. He's on 90%. I don't think he's used barely any at this point in this race. He's got so much that he must not have used any at the start of this race, and he's going to try and get the move done on Tekken into turn 1. He's not going to be close enough, so you would imagine he'll get the move done down Ruffles Boulevard and towards turn 7. But if he can get to the back of Steve or Old School when they're a little bit separated, Steph could just breeze past the pair of them. Yeah,
he can. If he picks the right moment, his exit is good. He just can open up his ERS, and it's bye-bye Steve.
You'll have to wait and see. He's going for the move on Tekken down towards turn 7, but he didn't get a great run out of turn 4, and he wasn't close enough to make the move stick. So Steph couldn't get the move done. He's trying the move down at turn 8, though, around the outside. That's a risky move. Tekken gives him enough space, but Steph backs out of it on the exit of the corner, and this is only costing him time. And while it costs Langfell's taking chunks of time out of him now as well. So now that Langfell is off those softs and onto the mediums, he's found a lot of pace. He's completely dropped Nolan. And meanwhile, Steph's dived the move down towards turn 10 at the Singapore Sling and gets it done. So Steph is up into 9th place. But look at that, about half a lap up behind Tekken, and the gap between him and Steve went from 1.1 seconds to 3 seconds. And that just goes to show how important track position is at this circuit.
Yeah, it is. And Flores and Isotopic.
Oh my word, Isotopic a little bit wide around the outside, but that's another move done for Isotopic up into 5th place on the road. He now has 6 seconds of clean air in front to push his way into. So I'll have to wait and see what kind of pace he has now that he's in clean air, but he's doing a good job. Meanwhile, Simply Superman is into the pit lane, and before Simply Superman was into the pits, mind you, lap 10, that's fairly early for a set of medium, or end of lap 9, that's fairly early for a set of medium tyres. He's into the pit lane, but before that, he'd actually dropped behind Hero Jokin, so Simply Superman somewhere, who had a great advantage, somewhere he's gone off the road.
Yeah, he has to. No front wing change, so that wasn't a problem, but yeah, let's see where he comes out, and yeah, this hard tire should go to the end. Ooh.
Simply Superman comes out of the pit lane just behind Kelvin on the track, just ahead of B Morgan, but I was just riding on board with Tekken there as he was coming through the first part of the lap. His hard tyres are now only 9 laps old, but Tekken has absolutely no grip on these hard compound tyres. He is sliding all over the road. I don't know whether that's because they're going off or whether it is just because it's such a hard compound of tyre, but even though they're going to get to the end of the race and the tyre life will be good, he's just got no grip at all. He's sliding all over the road, got absolutely no confidence, and obviously the pace in these hard tyres is only going to get worse as the race goes on. So that's one thing I'm thinking of. If Isotopic can build up enough of a gap over Old School and push in this stint of the race, when Old School gets to the end of the race on those hard tyres, which will be 25 laps old, he is going to have a massive pace advantage at the end of the race as Isotopic.
Yeah, he is, and yeah, I probably, if I would go for a two-stop strategy as Isotopic does, because he started on the softs and the mediums, now I would go for another set of mediums, because they really feel, I think they're the best tires around this track. The softs go off really, really fast, and the mediums just feel good for around 10 laps, and after that pace is dropping off. So if he does that, he really has a shot of making this work.
He really does, yeah. We'll have to wait and see what he's got. He's already closing a lot of time on Charlie in front. Meanwhile, Charlie stuck a little bit behind Lighty at the front of this race. Hero Jokin now leads. He's the lead person on that alternate strategy. Simply Superman came in fairly early on this strategy, and Charlie now going for the move on Lighty. Round the outside of turn 7, Lighty gives him just enough room, and Charlie can't get it late enough on the brakes to get that move done. But Charlie on debut here today, showing good pace so far, trying to get the move done, but just can't find a way through, and that's allowing Hero Jokin to get further up the road in the AlphaTauri. Isotopic runs fourth ahead of Vlois, who runs 5th. Old School runs in 6th, and his next target is Vlois on the road, so that's going to be crucial for him to get past Vlois quickly enough, because now that Steve and Steph are clear of traffic, they are both reclosing in on Old School, especially Steph. 2 laps ago, he was 3 seconds behind Steve. He's already within DRS range, so if Steph can pass Steve, you would imagine that Steph could easily clear Old School very soon after.
Steve, yeah. No, he can. He really on the softs his pace wasn't that good, but on the mediums he really feels comfortable. And Steve actually isn't winning any time on an Old School. No, he's even losing time. So yeah, Steph really needs to get a move on, not being held up by Steve now, and then Old School shouldn't be a problem for him to overtake after that.
Yeah, I'll have to wait and see what he can do. We're just seeing if he can get the move done. Steve is a little bit faster in the final sector of the lap. The middle sector is where the pace seems to be with Old School at this point in the race, but he is now a little bit stuck behind Vlores on the road, and Vlores is going to stay out for another lap. Hero Jokin is into the pit lane at the end of lap 11 for a set of hard compound tyres, so he's going for that one-stop strategy, simply as Old School's going for the move on the inside of Vlores down towards turn 1, but wasn't close enough to make the move stick, so he's going to have to stick in behind for the time being, and this is only going to cost him time the more he stays behind at this point in the race. Isotopic has caught Charlie. I think Charlie's made a mistake somewhere because he's 3 seconds behind Lighty, but Isotopic now going for the move down towards turn 7 around the outside. That was risky. Charlie didn't really leave him a lot of room on the outside. Isotopic barged his way through and somehow didn't pick up damage. I don't know how, but Charlie left the door open on the inside. I don't think Charlie was expecting Isotopic to go to the outside line. Isotopic went for it and nearly got put in the wall. Isotopic incredibly lucky to get away with that.
Yeah, he was. That was really risky, and he risked his whole race falling apart there. But yeah, Charlie is a good racer. He's fast. We've seen him driving before, but it was really, yeah. I don't know why he left that little margin between the wall and Isotopic. But overall, yeah, he's passed him now, and 3.7 seconds to Lydie, and I think he's gonna be closing the gap pretty quickly because Isotopic really flying today. He's having a great race.
He really is, yeah. Meanwhile, Steve has got the moved on Flores, so he's got a car between himself and Steph. Now, Steph's race depends on how quickly he can get past the McLaren, but there's no real overtaking opportunities in the last sector of this lap, and that Langfell in the background, still in contention, only 2 seconds back, so he's found a lot of pace on these tyres. Simply Superman now with a time penalty in this race. By the way, Simply Superman, after his pit stop, came out in 12th place, and is now in a queue of cars stuck behind Tekken. It's Tekken, Nolan, Kelvin, Simply Superman, B. Morgan, Hero, Jokin, all in a queue, and Steph is now into the... Is that Steph? No, sorry, that's Charlie into the pit lane. It was just a little bit of a timing glitch on my end, but Tekken on these hard compound tyres has no pace whatsoever. He's really struggling, and now Nolan is trying to get the move done. Is he going to try and get the move done maybe around the outside towards turn 1? There's not enough room. He's going to wait, I think, for the second DRS straight. Hero Jokin has passed Charlie and all that. Charlie's still in the pit lane. Jan, after his pit stop, by the way, came out. He's just gone... Well, B. Morgan's just gone into the pit lane for the second time in this race. I don't know if Jan's gone off the road somewhere or picked up damage, but he is quite a way off the back of this queue of cars of Simply Superman and Hero Joking. When he was right in the thick of the battle, was now Nolan is going for the move on Tekken down the inside line towards turn 7, and Tekken tries to fight it, kind of turns in on Nolan there, and Nolan gives him no room on the exit of the corner. That's going to allow Kelvin through at the same time as well, but Tekken, my word, that was a late dive down the inside of turn 8. Was no room there, and that move was never on. I think getting a little bit desperate on these older tyres, that allows Kelvin through, and now Simply Superman trying to get the move done, but in the process, Hero Joking might get the move done on him in the background, but there's not enough room into turn 10. But Tekken, awful grip on these hard compound tyres, getting a little bit desperate trying to hold on to these places.
Yeah, he does, and he's really struggling on his hard tires, and if it was him, I mean, either accidents are gonna happen because of a mistake and his lack of grip, or something else happens. I will go in, chase my tire, just take the extra pit stop, but he's struggling so much. It's not good, and it's definitely sweating. Yeah, with his controller in his hands now, because I hope he can finish it, but he's really having a hard time today.
He really is struggling. Meanwhile, Flores is the next person into the pit lane. 90, by the way, has stayed out on his set of medium compound tyres. He is going quite long on the set, and actually at the moment that could help him, while the likes of, we've got obviously Simply Superman, Tekken, Hero Joking all going at it. Meanwhile, down towards turn 1, Tekken trying to defend from Simply Superman, but can't do it. So Simply Superman now up into 9th place. Hero Joking probably won't have too much of a battle on his hands with his teammate. You would imagine Tekken would allow Hero Joking through and up into 10th place, but who knows, we'll wait and see. And I think Hero Joking is going to get a good run here, although Tekken does have DRS on in front. Oh no, Tekken does move out of the way of his teammates, so Hero Joken's up into 10th place. But that little battle there between all these guys could help light it out in the latter stages of this race. If he comes out on a fresh set of hard compound tyres, he could have quite a decent amount of pace and could be able to use that at the end of this one, but we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. The gap then between Isotopic and Old School is nearly 8 seconds, and personally, at the moment, I don't think that's quite enough for Isotopic to pull off this two-stop strategy.
No, it's not, and Old School slowly is winning time on him, and probably Isotopic is going to be held up by Lighty as well, because he's still looking comfortable on his tires, and I don't think he's going to be pitting really early, so or really early. I mean, it is around pit stop time for him, but so yeah, that can cost him some time as well. So no, he definitely doesn't have the gap. If he pits, he comes out in traffic, probably behind Langfell, so not the time for him.
Yeah, not quite yet. He doesn't want to pit too early, because if he does pit now, he could come out. Well, he probably will actually come out right in the thick of that battle between the two Red Bulls, and that would cost him heaps of time if he can't get that move done quick enough to get past either Kelvin or Nolan. And Kelvin actually has dived into the pit lane, so that's taken one driver out of the equation so far. That's put Simply Superman up into 8th and Hero Jokin up into 9th place. Tekken is back into the top 10, but Jan trying to go for the move around the outside of turn 1. That was a brave move around the outside, and he gets it done and gets the car kept on the track. So Jan back inside the top 10, but so far Jan has really struggled in this race. Up into 10th place, it's still a good amount of points, and he'll also be gaining on B Morgan, but with Isotopic at the front of the field, at this point Isotopic I probably would only need to come in with a podium to take the championship lead going into the next round of the season, and he has now caught Lighty. Old School losing time in the first half of the lap, and then when we get to the second half of the lap, Old School seems to win the time back. So that seems to be the nature. I don't know if that's just tyre wear or whether Isotopic is more suited to the first part of this track, but Old School definitely wins the time back in the second half.
Yeah, he does. And yeah, it's really just trading places. I mean, 2 races ago, B Morgan on top, last race Jan on top, and if it stays like this, it's going to be Isotopic on top. So who's it going to be next week? Is someone else going to mingle in it? Yeah, where are we going?
Yeah, where are we going? It could be absolutely anyone. Meanwhile, Lighty has come into the pit lane, so that frees up Isotopic quite nicely now. So he's now back into the lead of this race, and he's got a lot of clean air in front. You would imagine Isotopic will probably go to about lap 18 or 19, and then put another set of medium compound tyres on. Lighty in for a set of hards, and he went half distance on those medium tyres. And you've got to say, for Lighty, he didn't actually seem to lose that much pace on his set of mediums. He didn't have as big of a drop-off as a lot of people around him, and he's coming down the pit lane now. He is going to be right in the thick of this battle with Nolan, and actually, could he have performed to the overcut on these guys? He's coming out of the pit lane now. He's off his pit limiter. Nolan is going to go around the outside of him at turn 1. Where is Simply Superman in relative to this? Simply Superman's just going to... Oh no, there's contact! Very reminiscent of Massa and Hulkenberg a few years ago. Lighty goes into the side of Simply Superman's car, gets away with no damage, but comes out right in the middle between Simply Superman and Hero Jokin with much fresher hard compound tyres. Lighty almost pulled off for the overcut there, and has seemed to have held onto his tyres quite nicely. So it seems that Lighty at the end of this race could be a threat, because he's been able to manage his tyres a lot better than everyone else around him.
Yeah, he definitely is a threat to Simply Superman and Nolan around here. But yeah, that's another thing. And after that, I'm not going to be negative around this track. That's another thing that's really terrible about this track, the pit exit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Terrible.
I definitely agree with you. I think it should have been probably made a little bit longer and come out on the exit of turn 3 on the inside. Then you wouldn't have this kind of situation where people could run into the side of the car in front. I will say Nolan is doing a stellar job at the moment in that Red Bull, holding on to 5th place on 12 lap old hard compound tyres. He has not had the same pace drop off we've seen from Tekken, who is yet using another place here to Charlie, as Charlie's trying to go for the move down towards the bottom of the Anderson Bridge. Is he going to get the move done? No, he's not. He's going to stick in behind for the time being. Meanwhile, Steve was the first of the front runners to come in for the second time. And that just goes to show how much time you lose in the pit lane. He was running in 3rd place. He's come out 12th in this field. He's got a lot of traffic to work his way through, and especially with the likes of Simply Superman, Lighty and Hero Jokin, they don't have to pit again. As Hero Jokin ran into the back of Lighty, and that's completely taken Hero Jokin out of the equation. I think Lighty maybe lost the car coming through turn 21, and Hero Jokin got caught out by it, and oh my word, he's parked on the exit of the corner. People get away with it, but Hero Jokin is now completely out of contention. What a shame for him, running a good race, but that takes one car out of the equation for Steve. He's trying to go for the move on Charlie and Tekken into turn 1. My word, when do you ever see double overtakes at Singapore? But Steve pulls it off down the inside of turn 1, past Tekken and Charlie in one corner on those fresh medium tyres. Next target for him is his teammate Jan. So Steve making light work of this at the moment.
Yeah, incredible overtake from him. To be honest, I've never seen an overtake in a corner like this. So yeah, great job from him, and he's got free air now, 6 seconds to Jan. So let's see if he can eat out of that time lap after lap. But yeah, Isotopic is really at risk. I don't know if he's gonna pull it off with the second pit stop. It really, as another yellow flag in sector 1.
I think that was just Hero Jokin coming out of the pit lane. I don't think he spun the car. I think he was just running a little bit slow on the pit exit. When Isotopic comes in, he should... Well, he's actually coming in now, so we'll find out. But he might come in as Hero Jokin has actually spun the car. Meanwhile, coming out of turn 5 and has broken his front wing again. So it's gone horribly wrong in a virtual safety car. Wow, that has paid beautifully.
Great timing.
beautifully worked into Isotopic's hands. That is very reminiscent of Hamilton at Imola, and Steph is into the pit lane as well. So both of these drivers are going to benefit from this. Where does Isotopic come out? He's changing his front wing. Wow, so Isotopic picked up front wing damage somewhere in that stint, and that's why he maybe wasn't pulling away from Old School fast enough. He's changed that front wing. Steph is into his box. Is Isotopic going to come out ahead of Nolan? It's going to be close. I think Nolan might have him here coming down the pit straight. I think he is. With that front wing change, Isotopic is out. Nolan's up into second place. So Nolan now runs second at the virtual safety car restart. Isotopic is not going to come out ahead of Simply Superman. So that front wing change for Isotopic has cost him a couple places on the track, and the pace that he was showing, even with that front wing damage, was it really worth it changing his front wing?
Yeah, that's just what I wanted to say. I mean, I didn't even notice he had front wing damage. His pace was that good. So, yeah, I would say no, it wasn't. I mean, just keep it like it was and put on a fresh set of tires, and I think he should be good. But no, I'm expecting more from you, Isotopic. So I have to show it as well.
It's going to be a massive charge to the end of this race, but he's lost at least 6 or so seconds with that front wing change, probably about more closer to 7 or 8 seconds with a front wing change in the pit stop, so that's massively cost him. The gap between Old School and Nolan, it says at the moment it's 16.7. I think that is how it is after the virtual safety car restart. We'll have to wait and see. Isotopic's race now fully depends on how quickly he can get through Simply Superman and Nolan. Simply Superman and Isotopic have been on the track from almost every race so far this season, and down the inside late on the brakes from Isotopic down the inside of Simply Superman gets the move done almost instantly. So Isotopic is up into third place, and you would imagine Nolan on 14 lap old hard compound tyres is going to be relatively easy, but from then on in, 17 seconds he's got to find on Old School. He's got to hope that Old School's tyres just fall off a cliff.
Yeah, he really has to hope that. And this actually reminds me of a couple of Division 1 races where the same thing happened with what's his name? I'm gonna check that, and I'm gonna come back with that, because it was really exciting, even though there wasn't any battling, but just seeing the timing go down and down lap after lap, it was really exciting. I'm gonna come back with the name.
No, that'll be good to see. I might have to watch that Division 1 race as well when this is finished. But Steph also, meanwhile, he came in under that virtual safety restart. No front wing change for him. He came out pretty far ahead of Steve and has passed Jan in the process. So Steph is now running possibly in a third place position if he can get through Simply Superman and Lighty pretty quickly. Simply Superman and Lighty have done it. Oh, his Isotopic's gone wide. Isotopic went wide into turn 7. I don't know what on earth has happened there, but he's gone straight on at turn 7. Has he picked up damage, I wonder? He has! He's picked up masses of front wing damage. Isotopic from a great position. I wonder if he's had contact with Nolan, but he had a great opportunity at winning this race, and now damage off the back of possibly the Red Bull car in front of him, and Isotopic has just wiped away his opportunity of taking the championship lead.
Yeah, this is just too bad. Yeah, that's just wanting to go too fast than you're comfortable with, trying to get in poly laps, and yeah, things like this happen, and now probably it's gonna be race over. He really needs a miracle to get on the podium now, but after all, I enjoyed watching him today, but this is just incredibly sad to see, because he was doing really, really well.
It is such a shame to see Isotopic falling back through the field. Like you say, he's had such a stellar race so far. He has been the class of the field today in terms of pace, but I don't know whether it was aggressive defensing from Nolan or whether Isotopic got too greedy on the overtake, but Isotopic has ended up with front wing damage from it. So Isotopic now into the pit lane for the third time in this race, and that's him out of contention. And now Steph has got past Lighty for fourth place on the road. Steph's next target will be Simply Superman for that podium slot, and you've got to say he'll probably get that move done quite quickly, as Langfell now sets the fastest lap of the race, currently running in 9th place. Isotopic into the pit lane, still hasn't even reached his pit box. He's going to drop behind Harry Noag and Flores at this point in the race. He's going to be completely out of contention now. What a shame for Isotopic, and it's had a hard tyres as well to finish off the race. That is disastrous for Isotopic, and in all of that carnage, B Morgan's ended up in the top 10 somehow, so he's back into the top 10, having got masses of front wing damage at the start of this race. And Jan still probably has to pit again in this race. You know what, after all the carnage we've had in this race, B Morgan might be the top point scorer of our top 3 championship rivals. Yeah,
and don't rule out Simply Superman. I mean, he's in P3 now, really relatively close behind Nolan, so he's gonna score some points as well.
Yeah, and like you say, he's not far off the championship lead at this point, so races like this is exactly what Simply Superman needs. But I tell you what, Old School must think that Christmas has come a couple weeks early, because he's now out in front on a one-stop strategy, 17 seconds clear of the rest of the field. That goes to show that him and Isotopic, well, and Steve as well, you've got to say, and Steph as well, have really been in a class of their own so far. They've definitely been the four fastest today, but Old School going for that one-stop strategy has taken some element of risk out of his race. It doesn't mean he has to go for these audacious overtakes to try and get back through the field around a track where it's fairly difficult to overtake at, and because of that, Old School's kept completely out of trouble and has been massively rewarded for it.
Yeah, I mean, he can just having a Sunday drive now. Looking at this incredible lightning around this track, looking at the people just waving around. 70 seconds is a massive gap, and behind them, Nolan, Simply Superman, and Steph are gonna battle. I mean, Steph just wants to pass them pretty quickly, so he's probably gonna win some more time over that. But yeah, his strategy just was on par today.
Yeah, and that's why I'm a little bit shocked that Isotopic didn't go for that one-stop strategy as well, because he was clearly the fastest driver on the track today. So why put yourself at risk and put two stops into this race, make it a one-stop, and then you don't have to worry too much about you having to push constantly in this race and being the fastest. You can just kind of cruise to victory. But he put himself in that situation. That now means that Isotopic is now the lowest, from dominating the early phases of this race, Isotopic is now the lowest place of our championship rivals in 16th place. What a disaster that's been. Langfeld, meanwhile, has passed Charlie for 8th place, so he's trying to get some points back for Racing Point in this one, as Steve is now closing in on the back of his teammate Jan, who has got to pit again in this race. He's already 11 laps on these medium tyres with 11 laps to go, so he's no way going to get those mediums to the end of the race without a puncture, and now Jan is going to have to cede his place to Steve, who goes around the outside, and you've got to imagine Jan should be in now for another set maybe of medium tyres, or for maybe a set of softs in a couple of laps time. But when he does come into the pit lane, he is going to be, well, quite a way behind B Morgan, who should easily get to the end of the race on those hard compound tyres. So despite the carnage of the first lap, B Morgan's had good pace in the part of this race that we just haven't noticed, and is actually going to end up possibly with the points that obviously we have in this championship as Jan pits. B Morgan could, he could, be back in the championship lead at the end of this race.
Yeah, he definitely can. He definitely can. And yeah, this just shows that, and Jan did it last week. We must forget he started somewhere around the back and finished on the podium. So yeah, it really is possible. But in the meanwhile, Nolan is really holding up just everyone. I mean, Simply Superman isn't able to pass. Steve is the second one in the DRS train, so he isn't able to pass. And Leide caught up with them, and Steve is coming onto the back of this as well. So a really Singapore war starting to form around there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Simply Superman, you would feel if he can get ahead of Nolan, could clear off into the distance, and that could help him in the championship. But Nolan, 18 lap old hard compound tyres, he is going to struggle to get those to the end. Remember, he pitted at the end of lap 2 for a front wing change, and is now running in second place in this race. And Steph's actually going to go for the move on Simply Superman. He had a great run out of the heaven, and look at that. Steph just breezed past in a straight line, and now he has a shot at Nolan and 3 lap old mediums against 18 lap old hards. You've got to say that this should be easy meat for Steph. Can he get the move done on Nolan cleanly? Something that Isotopic wasn't able to do. We'll have to wait and see. Nolan will be fiercely defending a podium place in this race, but Nolan, it looks like, has lagged out of the session on my end of the screen, or he's got a little bit of a lag problem. We'll have to wait and see if that continues throughout this race, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Steph now, great opportunity at another podium, and Steph now up into 5th place in the standings. So I'll tell you what, Steph's only 1 point behind Simply Superman. Steph is not out of the equation just yet.
Yeah, every time we think top 3 started to form and got a little gap, races like these happen, and just different guys starting to mingle. That's stuff. Nolan is really jumping around on my screen. I think there's something wrong with his connection, because I just can't follow him. He's everywhere on the track.
Yeah, he is for me as well. I'm wondering whether that's what caught Isotopic out. Obviously, Nolan's car isn't quite in the place where it's meant to be, and maybe that caught Isotopic out, and that might be why Isotopic's down at the back of the field. And Steph's picked up a time penalty. Has he got front wing damage from that? I don't know. I don't think I've seen any for Steph. I think it's okay. It might be light, but it's not visible at the moment. But I think Steph's picked up a time penalty just trying to avoid Nolan's car. So Nolan's obviously really struggling with some lag problems, and it's affecting the drivers around him. And at the moment, the connection's actually kind of holding him steady in second place. But Steph, if he can get the move done, should be able to breeze off into the distance, which he might try and move the do now, but he got a little bit squirrely coming out of the hairpin, so he's not close enough down into the next corner.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, he really is fast, but that's looks to be the same for the guys behind him, Simple Superman and Lighty as well. And even Charlie isn't out of this. If it takes too long, even Charlie isn't out of this battle as well. He's catching up really fast, and so yeah, Steph really needs to get a move on and get his penalty out of the way. His gap with oh, never mind, because Simple Superman and Lighty have penalties as well. But
yeah,
he really needs to go past him quick now.
Yeah, definitely needs to get past quick, because you can see Nolan just losing time and time again. At the moment it says on my timer screen that Nolan is a lap down on Old School. That is not the case, but Nolan's struggling with some connection issues, which is not helping his course, or anyone's course really behind him. Steph can't get a clean move done on the Red Bull because the Red Bull is jumping around a little bit. Steph had a great run there, though. This time round is down the inside through the kink of turn 6 and coming out towards turn 7, and this time round Steph has the move done. So Steph is up into second place in this race, and that should be safe to the end if he can keep it clean. And now Nolan again a little bit with a lag problem. Can Simply Superman try and get on the podium ahead of Nolan as well. Steve has caught these guys though on a fresh set of medium tyres, as has Langfell on an even fresher set of medium compound tyres and with no penalty. So Langfell at the moment could jump all of these guys in front of him if he's got the pace. Steph might be able to build enough of a gap to keep his second place safe in this race, but Langfell has a great opportunity in this race, making up some points for Racing Point after the disaster that Isotopics had. Lighty's also picked up front wing damage somewhere, so he's struggling a little bit to hold on to the back of Simply Superman. And like I say, Charlie's closing in, and so is B Morgan, and B Morgan with no penalty as well. He's not fully out of the equation just yet. Meanwhile, Jan has passed Kiki and is up into 11th place on the road, 8.5 seconds to Harry and Mark in front. That is going to be a tall order for Jan to close that down.
Yeah, it is, and but yeah, still he has fresh medium tires. He can close the gap down because Harry is really going to struggle at the end of the race with his hard tires. I mean, they're 16 laps old. In the end, it's going to be hard to keep them in check and keep the temperatures right.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the gap between Old School and Steph, and this is kind of a good representation of what the pace Isotopic would have had over Old School, because you've got to say that Isotopic and Steph were fairly similar on pace. And I'll tell you what, after Steph made that move on Old School, he took 2.5 seconds out of Old School in the second half of that lap alone. Obviously Old School doesn't have to push that much because we're getting to the end of the race and he's got no threat at the moment from behind, but 2.5 seconds a lap is an incredible amount of speed that Steph has. He's obviously pushing like mad to try and gap the guys behind and maybe closing on Old School if Old School makes a mistake towards the end of the race, but that just goes to show where Isotopic could have been.
Yeah, he does. I mean, if he didn't change his front wing, I believe he would have been in front of these guys and probably closed the gap down already. And yeah, it's going down quickly now because Old School doesn't have to push. And ooh, Steph really aggressive in the corners and almost lost his backhand. But yeah, it should have been easy peasy for Isotopic to win this race.
It really should have been, but unfortunately taking himself out of contention, and possibly that could be a blow for his championship campaign with both of his championship rivals in front of him on the road. Nolan, meanwhile, continues to hold up a queue of cars. 21 laps has now been on these hards. These tyres are going to be dead by the end of this race. These hard tyres have nearly done a full race distance on Nolan's car, so he's going to be massively under pace. We're going to have absolutely no pace by the end of this race. Simply Superman, though, just can't find a way through. He's got not a lot of confidence on his hard compound tyres. Lighty's got front wing damage, and then Steve and Langfell and Charlie now all in a queue with everyone in front of them having DRS. It's going to be difficult for them to overtake, and B Morgan has been 2 seconds faster than everyone in front on this lap alone. So give it a couple laps and B Morgan would be on the back of this queue as well.
Yeah, he definitely is going to be on the back of these guys, and he doesn't have penalties as well. So this is just, I mean, Langfell and B Morgan just have to be hoping Nolan keeps all these guys up, because they're going to be the great benefiters out of this if they don't pick up any penalty.
Yeah, if they don't, that is perfect for them, and that could be Langfeld's first podium of the season. Meanwhile, Steve's trying to go for a move down the inside of Lighty. Lighty with a double move in the braking zone there, really aggressive defence. Holds onto the place, but Steve will not be happy with that. Lighty trying really hard to hold on to 5th with that front wing damage. Obviously starting well outside the top 10 was Lighty, going for that one-stop strategy. The one-stop strategy in the end has been the best one today in terms of actually being able to stay on the track and not pick up any damage, but in terms of actual raw speed, the two-stop, the people on the two-stop have been the faster drivers. Steph, the gap between Old School and Steph is now 10.7. Steph is absolutely flying. He's already 6 seconds clear of Nolan. He has disappeared off into the distance, where Steph could have been if he had been able to get through these cars a bit quicker, because who knows, he might have had enough time to close in on Old School by the end of the race, but with obviously being held behind for that long, I don't think he's going to have the opportunity to pull that off unless Old School makes a mistake, which at the moment doesn't look like it's going to happen because he's just cruising. Isotopic, meanwhile, makes up another place. He's ahead of Flores and up into 13th, trying to salvage something from this race, but 13th is probably the best he can achieve, 9 seconds behind Kiki with only 5 laps to go in this race. That is the best Isotopic is going to hope for. Jan is closing in quickly on Harry Nawag for 10th place in this race, and he should be able to get that move done, but from there, that's probably the best that Jan's going to get out of this as well, and B. Morgan has the opportunity to possibly jump into the top 5 on penalties. So B. Morgan, all of a sudden, having had a terrible qualifying and a terrible start to the race, could end up leading the championship by the end of this one. That just goes to show that you should never give up in these kind of races.
No, you never should. You never should, and there's no need to as well with the point system they're running here. So just keep on going, and yeah, who knows what happens. And on the meanwhile, Simply Superman finally passed Nolan now.
Yes,
so let's see what his pace is going to be.
It's taken him, I think, 10 laps too long at this point in the race to salvage anything from this one. I think if he'd got past him a lot earlier, he could have secured 2nd place in this race. But either way, Simply Superman now runs in a podium slot. Nolan picked up another penalty the corner before the Raffles Boulevard. So Nolan now struggling even more in this race. And Simply Superman, I think, only has 1 penalty in this race. So he should be able to clear away from these guys pretty quickly. And the good thing for Nolan now is that the next car behind him on the track is Lighty. While he is on fresher hard compound tyres, Lighty is struggling with front wing damage. So Nolan's not going to be under as much pressure at this point in the race. Langfell having a look at the back of Steve, but not close enough. Flores and Tekken meanwhile towards the back of the field are continuing to battle. There's battles all the way through the field. Everyone is still going at it for as many points as they can. Tekken is the last of the people still on the road. You have to wait and see. He's had a horrid race, has Tekken so far. Not been in control of this car from the start of this race. He's not had a lot of pace. Flores has got ahead of him. Breaker Fenn, having spun early on, just hasn't been able to recover, running in 14th place on 21 lap-old hard compound tyres. What a disaster for him as well, having qualified in the top 10 on a set of medium tyres. But we're coming with 3 laps to go next time around. Well, 4 laps to go this time around. Steph's brought the gap down to 7.4. Steph is utterly flying, and you know what? He could be on the back of Old School by the end of this race, but you would imagine that Old School will probably pick up the pace in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, well, that was just what I was going to say. I'm a bit surprised that he keeps closing the gap down, because either Old School just can't go faster on these tires, or he's really relaxing, hoping that Steph makes a mistake now, because he's just eating time out of the gap, lap after lap, and really flying, having a fairly decent pace around here. So yeah, Old School, don't wait too long. You have to pick up your pace, or you're going to be in trouble at the end of the race.
Meanwhile, Jan has got the move done around the outside of Harry Nawag at turn 7, and he's up into P10. But look at that, 11.5 seconds behind B. Morgan. That is the best that Jan's going to hope for. B. Morgan obviously will benefit on people's penalties in front. He has now caught this queue of cars already on the back of Charlie, so he just needs to really sit there and just get off penalties. And actually doesn't even need to sit there, because Charlie spins the car almost on his own coming out of the hairpin. So that's already a place up for B. Morgan, who now runs 8th in this race. Charlie down to 9th place. So B. Morgan's 1 place behind the other person with no penalties in this race. That's Langfell, currently running in 7th place. Langfell will jump ahead of everyone up to, I believe, Nolan in this race. I don't think he's quite within range of Simply Superman just yet, but we'll have to wait and see when this race finishes, because since Simply Superman has passed Nolan, he's not really driven that as far away from him as I would have thought he could have done.
No, I mean, he was on the back of Nolan for 10 laps or something, really pushing. So I would have imagined he should have been up the road 3 or 4 seconds by now.
Yeah, I would have thought that as well.
It's only 5 seconds now. Whoa.
My God, I think we blink and Steph has taken 2 seconds out of Old School. I noticed that on the last lap, just going through the Singapore sling. Steph was 0.5 of a second faster through Old School through turn 10. He is so much faster at this point in the race. He's obviously in a good rhythm, and obviously when you get into a good rhythm around Singapore, you have crazy pace, and he's showing it once again. He's got really, really good pace at this point in the race. He does have a penalty, so even if he does catch Old School, he has to pass him and gain 3 seconds on Old School to win this race, but who knows? Oh, Steph has a massive snap of oversteer there. I think he might start to be maybe overcooking his tyres just a little bit. He's starting to slide all over the road now, so maybe he has reached the peak of these medium tyres. Old School maybe hoping that is what he's done, but you can tell that Old School, I think his tyres are now just gone, because that front right is looking pretty angry. He has no ERS and he just doesn't seem to have a lot of grip, but he is holding on to it for the time being. Steph is now 10.5 seconds clear of Simply Superman. Nolan still runs 4th, but has I think 2 penalties now. Lighty with only the 1, and I think Steve only with 1 as well, so Nolan will drop to at least 8th in this race as it stands. So we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. Jan is closing in fairly rapidly on these guys. There's only 3 laps left, 2 laps left when they cross the line, so Jan's going to have hopes for some carnage in front for him to be able to capitalise on it, but it just goes to show that this queue of cars really are costing each other time.
Yeah, and this shows as well how hard it is to overtake as Nolan picks up another penalty. How hard it is to overtake around there. And I think Lighty made a mistake, because all of a sudden he's well over a second behind Axel Nolan.
Yeah, he's struggling a little bit. Obviously he has that front wing damage, but he was tucked up behind him at the start of the lap. He's now, obviously, like you say, no longer there. So he's made some sort of mistake in the last lap. And Steve, I think, 13. He pitted early for these medium tyres. They're now 13 laps old, and you can tell that Steve is now starting to struggle, because he can't even keep up with Lighty, and Lighty has damage and old hard tyres. So is Langfell going to go for the move on Steve? He's gone. His DRS is going to look to the inside line. Langfell doesn't need to take the risk, but he's going to go for it anyway. He gets down the inside line, and Langfell is up into 6th place on the road, passes Steve, and now B. Morgan trying to get the move done, but isn't close enough to get it done into turn 8, so sticks behind. But Steve sliding all over the road. His tyres are at the edge of the end of their tyre life, really. He's got no pace, and Steve having to defend towards turn 10, looks to the inside line. B. Morgan can't get the car down the inside, so he has to stay in 8th place, but B. Morgan doesn't need to take the risk to gain the places. He will gain them on penalties as it stands. We'll have to wait and see how this pans out. 1.5 laps to go. Steph is trying as hard as he can to close in. Within, how many laps has it been since he's passed Nolan? I think it's been 7 laps since he's passed Nolan. Yeah. The gap was, and he's put it in the wall. Just as I was about to say that. Just as I was about to say, he was having a great time of it. He's put the car in the wall on his own. He got the gap down to 2 seconds. I tell you what, Steph would have been all over the back of Old School on the last lap without that mistake, and it could have forced Old School off the road and maybe into a mistake of some sort. And Old School could have picked up a penalty, but Steph doing that one small moment has cost him any shot of possibly challenging Old School for the race victory.
Yeah, but still, great drive from him. I mean, 6-7 laps ago, the gap was 17 seconds. If he wouldn't have made this mistake, it would probably be on the back of him now. So, yeah, incredible drive from him today. And after he passed Nolan, he was just in concentration mode. Didn't see anything. Just was concentrated on the tarmac in front of him and doing his own thing. Great driving.
B. Morgan is past Steve as Steve continues to struggle on his mediums. Charlie's now going for the move around the outside of Steve. Steve forces him off the road. Charlie, oh my word, nearly loses the car. How he held on to that, I don't know. Meanwhile, B. Morgan has picked up a time penalty. So on the last lap of the race, picks up a time penalty. That's going to cost him a couple places. He will still finish ahead of Jan as it stands. But I tell you what, if Steve gets overtaken by Charlie, I will not be surprised if Steve slows down and lets his teammate through in this point in the race, who is flying on his set of medium compound tyres, but just hasn't got enough laps left in this race. I think another couple laps and Jan could be right on the back of this queue of cars. But we're coming to the end of this race. Old School on that one-stop strategy has made it work, while everyone else around him has fallen by the wayside. Finally, Old School is going to be the one with the luck today. No penalties, a great solid drive. May not have been the fastest, but has been the cleanest and the smartest, and he will come round turns 22 and 23 to finally win a race in TTML and at Singapore of all places. What a race from Old School. Steph, what a comeback, but unfortunately that damage on the penultimate lap of the race cost him any shot of trying to challenge for the win. Simply Superman will come home to the podium places. Great race from him as well. Nolan somehow gets those tyres to the end of the race, but is going to lose out to a lot of drivers on penalties. Langfell gets onto the podium for the first time. What a race from him as well, having struggled so much at the start of the race. He's able to get onto the podium place ahead of Simply Superman, who did have 2 penalties in the end. So Langfell gets it from Simply Superman. Lighty ends up in 5th place with damage ahead of B. Morgan, who spun on the first lap of this race and had to pit for front wing damage, ends up 6th. Steve 7th, 2/10 of a second ahead of his teammate Jan. So Jan, I think, will just stay ahead of B. Morgan in the standings. Charlie in 9th ahead of Nolan, who drops to 10th on penalties. Harry Nawaga ahead of Kiki. Isotopic, what a shame, dominated the first half of this race. Could have had this one sewn up fairly early on and made a mistake by himself. So he's down to 13th place, and that is a horrid race for Isotopic. He'll be heartbroken after that. Break FN, Flores and Tekken will round off the finishers. Damon is quite way off the pace, but he is AI at the moment, so he is not actually in control of that car. Tekken will be the last person to cross the line. On his side of soft compound tyres, maybe going for the fastest lap of the race as he crosses the line. What is the time? I don't think it was the fastest lap in the end, so he wasn't able to get it, but my word, what a topsy-turvy race. Another great race, and finally Old School's able to get that victory.
Yeah, finally, after a couple of pole positions, he finally wins the race, and B. Morgan, the game, gave him driver of the day, and maybe he gets mine as well. But yeah, great race. Everything, we've had everything. We had a virtual safety cars, a pit stop of Isotopic. Well, there was a virtual safety car, a crash out of when he was hunting down Old School. So great race.
It really, really was a good race, and with the pace that Steph showed at the end of that race, you would have imagined that the Isotopic could have had that one in the bag if he'd kept it on the road, but unfortunately he didn't, and Old School is the beneficiary of it, gets his first win of the season. Down in 10th in the standings, this is going to rocket him up quite a few places, maybe up into the top 5, maybe about 6th or something in this championship standings. That would be good for him. Steph with another podium. Steph is actually throwing himself into the ring in this championship with him beating every single person that's in front of him in the standings. Steph is not out of the equation just yet. He has been on form in the second half of this season. Had a slow start, but since that pole position that he got, I can't even remember what track it was that he got the pole position at. I think it might have been Baku, but since then, Steph has been on a roll of performances. He's now 2nd place ahead of Langvell, who gets his first podium for TNR. Simply Superman in 4th ahead of Lighty, 5th B. Morgan, Steve, Jan, Charlie and Nolan round off the top 10. Then it's Harry Noir, Kiki, Isotopic, Break FN, Flores, Tekken, your finishers. Damon, Kelvin and Hero Jokin are the ones that did not finish today. Hero Jokin with contact in the midway point of the race. Damon exiting the lobby fairly early on, and Kelvin retiring a little bit later on in the race. It was an utterly crazy race. You said that B. Morgan might be your driver of the day. Is that officially confirmed by you?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, brilliant. I think I might have to agree with him on that one. He obviously had a horrible first lap, but what a recovery from B. Morgan, and that has... Well, that is the kind of race that makes or breaks your championship. I mean, we said it last time out that the mistake he made in Spa could have broken his championship, but he's recovered really well this time round. Yeah,
he did. I mean, was unlucky with his Renault crashing into the pit lane. Don't know why, equally, but I wasn't able to set a representative time, and yeah, bad luck. Lost his front wing on lap 1, and his recovery was just on par. I mean, we haven't been on board with him that much, but yeah, great comeback from him, and finishing in in the position he did. Great. As my voice is going, is shut as well now.
Well, I'm gonna save you having to talk too much before you completely lose your voice before you have to race this track. Unfortunately, tomorrow, I'm sure you're really looking forward to that. But obviously you've got that race tomorrow, but obviously tune into League Racing TV for the rest of the week, guys, as well. Obviously we've got divisions 4 and 5 around Singapore tomorrow, so go and cheer Conti on for us. I'm sure he's going to be absolutely hating it, so he needs all the support he can get for tomorrow's race. And obviously CRC runs on the weekend, so look out for driver streams for Saturday and Sunday, and if you want to be a commentator for CRC, get in touch with us and we will see if we can sort something out. And obviously tune into League Racing TV as well next week, because the Esports Masters League is back next Wednesday instead of the Sprint League. We are doing it a week week early just so that we can fit everyone in before Christmas. So that is back next Wednesday, and we are back again this time next week for the next round of the season at Japan, which is sure to be another great race. And this championship keeps going up and down, left and right, forwards and backwards. Who knows where this is going to go next time out? It could be an absolutely crazy race at Japan as well. So I'm really looking forward to see how that pans out. Thank you to everyone for tuning into the stream. Thank you to all the drivers for turning up, and thank you to Conti as well for joining me in the commentary box as always. But from myself and Conti, it is thank you very much and goodbye.